open-ended question. So what I will do is I will just try to highlight what our LMS does that a lot of other LMS also do, just so that you can see sort of how we fulfill the same end goal, just probably slightly differently. And I'll also show what some of the features that we have that other LMS does not have. And then lastly, I'm just going to sort of highlight what sort of make our platform slightly different than other platform out there. So the first is just a set of screenshots. I tried to go through sort of our features fairly quickly, and it's just easier to use screenshots than using a live demo. If anyone is interested to go deeper with an interactive demo, you can definitely reach out to me afterwards. But the idea here is just give everyone a little bit of an idea of some of the use cases that you might have seen, but just done slightly different. So most of the LMS have the single sign-on feature, and our Oasis is no different. We can do pretty much integration with all the popular association management system out there. And in addition, our LMS, just like most of the LMS out there, allow e-commerce. Specifically, you can do membership-based tier pricing. You can do group purchase with discounts. You can do promo codes, coupon codes, voucher codes. Our learning management system is also PCI compliant. So what that means is we are allowed to capture users' credit card information and process the credit card against some of the popular credit card processors. And I just list 4 on the screen. We actually integrate a lot more than these 4. And if you have any custom shopping cart comes with your AMS, we can definitely tap into that as well. So just very quickly go to some of our features that's pretty standard, I would say, across the landscape. The first is a fully integrated webinar features. So what that means is you have to bring your own license. So there are typically really 3 big webinar platform out there: Zoom, GoToWebinar, and a WebEx. So all you have to do is to purchase your own Zoom webinar license, for example. You load your license into Oasis, and then when the user, on this screen, when the user fund the webinar on the learning management system, which is like a screenshot on the left-hand side you see here, the user will automatically get registered into the webinar, which is what you see on the right-hand side. Specifically, I want to highlight this link where the user can click on to join the meeting. It is a personalized webinar link. In this example, it happened to be Zoom integration. GoToWebinar and WebEx work identical. And the idea is you can do all the registrations directly online without actually bouncing the user to, for example, Zoom to register directly within Zoom. So the benefit of this is you can charge for your webinar if you want. You can collect surveys, evaluations. You can provide content either before or after the webinar, all directly within the learning management system. The only part that the user actually gets sent to the webinar platform for is during the webinar, which is handled on Zoom, WebEx, or GoToWebinar. So this is what we refer to as a fully integrated webinar support. So, so that will be a live or synchronous education product. Now I'm going to highlight some of the on-demand or asynchronous courses that are typically found on the learning management system. And I would say, you know, these make up probably 60 or 70% of the education product out there. So you basically make your content available online, and you have some optional pre-tests, optional post-tests. You can also have an optional evaluation. You can offer credit. You can allow people to print out a certificate. So the idea is you make your product available, and the user can start anytime they want. So here's just a screenshot of a pretty standard on-demand course. As you can see on the screenshot to the left, you can have a pre-test followed by some content. The content happened to be 2 videos, which is displayed on the screenshot to the right. And then the user can do a post-test and fill out the evaluation. And then when they are done, they will be able to download a certificate and receive some credit. So this is a very, very typical use case. A very small module. Typically, a member will pay $10, $20, or $30 for, and then they will receive just a nugget of knowledge and they receive a certificate and move on their way. So this is a pretty popular setup. Another very popular use case within our platform is if you have a larger product that has more content than just a couple of videos, you can make your content searchable. And typically we refer to it as a searchable online library, in the sense that you have, let's say, 100, 200 videos, you can tag them, or you can rely on Oasis to do its own auto tagging. But the idea is you will sort of throw all your content in a one product, make it searchable, and give user access to that library and allow them to do the searching that they typically expect through any modern platform. And this is just an example of a searchable library. Another very popular on-demand course is annual meeting recordings. So here's just an example of, a few session recordings from an annual meeting, and you make it available to either the annual meeting attendees as a way to catch any sessions they missed, and make this available as an on-demand enduring product for any of the learners who are not able to attend the annual meeting. So this is also a pretty popular use case of setting up an on-demand product. So more and more now we see a lot of our client using on-demand for trainee resources. Typically, this is someone who just started their career in medical associations. You can think of residents, fellows. So the idea is there are curated content that are structured in sort of a module setting. So the learner can go into the course and just follow sort of a guided, curated tour to go through the training on their own pace. So that's another pretty popular use case for on-demand product. So switching gear now. So I just highlighted a live course. I also highlighted some on-demand course. Now there is definitely a lot of hybrid courses where you have a live component of your course, but there are some component that's available before the live portion and after the live portion. So here's just an example of like almost like a calendar view, so you can see when the live component is happening and which on-demand component is available. Either when does this become available before the meeting, and when does it become available after the meeting. So a hybrid course is definitely getting a lot of tractions. Most of our client who is doing hybrid courses, their hybrid courses are probably some of their flagship product, just because it's probably the most recognizable product that they offer. So virtual conference is definitely catching on because of the pandemic that we are seeing. So when you have to move your meeting from in-person to virtual, virtual conference, we do support virtual conference so that you can provide the education sessions, you can provide sponsorship, you can provide networking opportunities, you can provide exhibitor halls. So virtual conference, I would say last year, not a lot of clients are using it. This year, definitely much, much more clients are using the virtual conference feature. Another popular use case within the learning management system that might intrigue you is a certification program. So typically you have a linear certification where the user has to complete a set of criterias. The criteria might be a test, might be some online learning, might be a final exam. It might require some upload of a licensure or insurance information. So the exact requirement for the certification is going to vary from situation to situation, but the learning management system such as ours will allow you to streamline the certification flow so that user can log in and be able to meet all their certification requirements directly online. So this is sort of a linear fashion, and here is what I refer to as a mix and match fashion of a certification, where you can say that in order to receive the certification, you just had to fulfill 4 of the 8 requirements. So in this particular screenshot, you can see that there are 4 modules required, and the particular user has already done 3, so there's only 1 remaining. So depending on the exact logic behind your certification, our platform allow you to configure those logic, and then what you ends up is a tailored user experience to reflect your certification requirement in a most sensible experience. Another pretty popular product that has always been available online is assessment exam. So here just how our Oasis deliver assessment exam. So as you can see here, this happens to be 125 questions. Our system allow you to have the similar features that other platform have. Passing score, the number of attempts. If you want to set a time limit, you can put a time limit on your exam. Your questions can have a commentary or a rationale, and they can also have a reference section. Some of the assessment product also want to enable peer comparison, which is what you see on the right-hand side of the screenshot, where the user can see how their answer selection in that question, how that compare with their peers. So our exam engine also allow you to do multimedia question. So typical example would be images, videos, audios as a part of the question. And we also allow the user to do peer comparison, not just at the question level, but at the topic level and at the exam level. So typically this level of sophistication is not necessary for a minor quiz that has 3 or 4 questions, but is highly desirable for a bigger, sort of more expensive question-based product. So here's another product that's offered online now that is getting more popularity. It's what I refer to as a question bank product. So what you have is, suppose you have a lot of questions accumulated over the years, and you don't sort of just want them to go some graveyard and die. You want to repurpose these questions for more revenue generation. So you can create a product that have, say, 1,000 questions, and you can set it up so the user can walk through a wizard similar to what my screenshot is shown here. They can pick the topics they want. They can select how many questions they want. And the third screen you see here is they can say, hey, this is my weekend practice as I get ready for a particular certification exam. And then when they click on go, they will be able to generate a custom exam based on the exact criteria. So this allows the user to truly tailor what type of questions they want in their exam based on, say, their own perceived weakness or interest. So those are some of the popular online product that we have seen that our client offers. And we also have seen other platforms that probably achieve the same goal, just done slightly different. So now I'm just going to show a few features within our platform that you may not have seen in other platforms. Maybe you have, I'm not sure, but hopefully these are some new ideas. The first is a native mobile app. So we do have a native mobile app, which is, I want to mention here, our system is responsibly designed. That means it is fully adjustable to the user's device form factor, but that still require internet connection. With a native mobile app, you will be able to download the app to your own iPhone, for example, and then you can download the content, and then you will be able to consume the content offline without actually having to connect to the internet. So definitely a native mobile app will be where you want to go if you want to capture some of the members that are, I would say, in their 20s, 30s, when they probably are growing up used to a mobile app, and they will find silly having to use a phone to navigate to a browser. So that would be something that I want to highlight. So here are just some ratings of the apps that's running on our platform. They all have almost perfect score on the App Store and the Google Play. I want to think that the score that they get are sort of a combination of the content that our client produce and the technology that we provide to make the user experience good. Another feature that our platform have that might pique your interest given the COVID world is remote AI-based proctoring. So if you have any sort of high-stake exam and you used to have an in-person proctored exam setting, which become troublesome these days, you might consider a AI remote proctoring feature that we have. So in this 4 screenshots, you can see as a user ready to take the test, they had to take a mugshot like what I did on the first screen. They had to take a picture of their driver's license so that we'll match their face to the driver's license. And then they also had to enable recording of their computer so that we will record what they're doing on their computer. And when they give permission, we will be able to record the entire session when the user is taking the test. So this becomes very, very handy when, say, the learner cannot go to an in-person testing center on their Saturday morning. They have to do it at home. It's not going to be as secure. Any remote proctoring is never going to be as secure as in-person proctor, where the person probably had to go through a metal detector in some cases, and they probably had to pay a lot more. Typically runs about $200, I believe, for one of those in-person proctor. Whereas if your use case for a high-stake exam is willing to accept a little bit less secure but equally secure proctoring setting, then a remote proctoring is probably a good alternative. Our platform also have an item bank feature. So this is very useful when there is a need to separate all your questions outside the product so that you can reuse some of your questions from product to product. So it just allows a much easier lift every time you say, hey, I need to reuse some of the questions from another product in a new product. So by segregating the questions into item bank, the process is much, much easier. Our system also have a question review process. So typically, if you have a pretty big question-based product and that you need a little bit of a rigor behind your question writing process, you probably are familiar with a lot of emails with Word document, with track changes being sent back and forth. So our platform has a built-in question review engine so that all you had to do is set up rules on who is writing the questions, who is reviewing as the first level reviewer, second level reviewer. You set up the relationship, and then all you had to do is just keep the process running while the platform handles all the reviewing, the editing, the change management, so that when you're finally done with a question, all you had to do is click one button and the question is ready to be used in any product that you're launching. So the question review flow that is baked into the system would definitely help a lot of our or any of the clients who is struggling with just a lot of emails with Word documents. Another feature that we have is institutional sales. So the idea behind institutional sales is you sell a set of vouchers and you have a number of seats associated with each voucher. And you can allow an institution coordinator to purchase these vouchers, and anyone using the voucher will give free access to the product while deducting one use from their seat maximum. And what's also nice about the institutional sales is if you have a school setting, the school can purchase multiple, for example, learning content exams, and then that coordinator for the institution can monitor a variety of progress, including scores, peer comparison, both comparing their student within the student group or comparing their entire school versus all the schools out there, right? So the institutional dashboard allows you to both sell your product at the institution level and provide value to your institution customers by providing a really robust dashboard for them to dive into any of the information they want. We also have a dedicated China infrastructure in case any of the audience out there is interested in target Chinese audience. The reason I even bring this up is because in case you don't know, China has a firewall around their border. So any Chinese audience is going to have difficulties accessing any learning management system that's hosted outside of China. So they will have very slow speed. Sometimes they cannot even connect. But having a dedicated China infrastructure, your Chinese audience will be accessing the Chinese instance of the learning management system, and all the firewall issues automatically goes away. So that will be something that will be of interest if you want to target any audience in China. So now I'm just going to highlight a few things that make our learning management system different. So the first few slides just about the technology. We consider ourselves a software as a service technology provider, and our system is a multi-tenant architecture. So what that means actually is just that when you're ready to sign up, just give us a call. It takes about 30 minutes to get you up and running. So that's really, I would say, um, the definition of a multi-tenant is the spin up speed is much, much faster than any software as a service that does the individual spin up for each client. So another technology is we are riding on the technology giants of Amazon. So we are leveraging as much technology that Amazon has to offer, including their cloud delivery network, their elastic load balancer, their storage. So we try to not reinvent the wheel if Amazon has already provided those technologies. And what that actually get us is we can do infinite user load handling through auto scaling, so that if you happen to have 50,000 users registering for a particular event on the same day, you don't have to worry about the inflood of traffic, just because our technology will auto scale to handle those amount of traffic. So that I would say is probably the biggest difference is we pride on the technology that stands behind our platform. The second part I think is really make us different is we have very transparent pricing. You go to our website, you will see pricing link. You can go there, you will see the price that every single client of ours pay. So our enterprise tier is just a scale up pricing wise of the professional tier. So idea here is, if cost is a concern, you know exactly where we stand as far as cost goes. And the last thing that I think also make us a little bit different is we actually don't charge to implement, to customize, or to set up. So the only thing you pay is a licensing fee, and you don't even pay that until you launch. So I believe this truly foster a partnership between our team and our client, because we understand that there's a huge buy-in from the organization to take on a learning management system as such a big change to their workflow, and we want to share that risk. So we're basically sort of putting money where our mouth is, by saying, if you're not happy with the product, you don't even have to pay, because you only pay the licensing fee, which does not start until you launch. And the last but not least, I think what makes us truly different is we're fanatic about customer service. And I hope that is demonstrated by the fact that we actually have 0 client turnover. That means every single client who using our platform is still using our platform since 2010 when we started. So, and I think that is probably the biggest testament of how fanatic we are about keeping our customer happy. So the next step, if you're interested, that's my contact. Feel free to reach out. I'm always available. And that ends my demo, and I'm ready for any questions.
So great, and thank you, Thomas. Ezra behind the scenes has been doing a great job of answering the questions, but there's a couple more left. Question I see is, do you still provide support in setup and migration from an existing system, even without any implementation or setup fees?
Yeah, so we do charge for data migration, and that's just because that will require significant effort to work with your existing platform, get the data out, and understand the data schema in order to load into our platform. So even though we do not charge the setup, we do charge for data migration, which vary in price depending on the amount of data loading. So for example, we recently onboarded a client that has about 5 million record. So as you can imagine, that's going to cost just a little bit more, just because you require a 3-day data migration to even finish running. Make sense?
Yep, makes sense, sir.
Sure.
Question from Elizabeth Lakowitz. Does Amazon technology leveraging include tracking the user buyer interest so products and courses can be recommended? or something based on their use of the various core offerings?
Yes, so basically Amazon technology has this thing called Elasticsearch. I don't want to go into too detail of how the technology works, other than it can get a little bit creepy by analyzing users' past behavior to make recommendations based on users' past behavior. So just imagine Facebook following you and to see what you like and recommending what they think you will like. Leveraging Amazon Elasticsearch, we can do something similar, but we hope it is for the good in the sense that we are recommending courses and products that we think you will enjoy more than another product. So we do have a personalized search feature, yes.
Good, sir. Is there a way to integrate your AMS such that your AMS manages all of the transactions?
Okay, so I'm assuming that it integrates with AMS so that the LMS manage all the transactions. So it is 100% possible to use your AMS as source of truth or use the LMS as source of truth. Our system allows both ways of doing integration so that you can say all the transactions happens in the AMS and the LMS is just doing the fulfillment of the product ordering, or you can say that let all the purchases and entitlement happen in the learning management system, and the order just flow to the AMS, so the AMS has a record of all the transactions. So either use case is supported.
Great. So we're right at about time. I want to thank you. One more question just popped in. Two more
Sure.
questions just popped in. Have you integrated with either Nimble or Fontiva?
Yes, so we have integrated with both Nimble and Fontiva multiple times, yes.
And what about Member Suite?
And I also see another one. We also integrate with Member Suite. Yes, we also integrate with Member Suite. Yes.